Okay, in chapter 5, we'll be discussing the transition to parenthood. Do I want to be a parent? First, in the first introduction section of the chapter, do I want to be a parent? It basically determines on three different factors that adults look at when they consider having children. The economic factors, which is when couples' desired lifestyle and educational outcomes determine if they can have children or not. They basically look at, if they're fit as far as, education can determine if they'll have kids. A lot of adults and a lot of people actually want to complete, their like higher education or complete and get a degree before they have children. And they also want to be financially stable as well, before they have children. Also, having children can contribute to delayed parenthood. Also, structural factors, marital and employment status of parents. A lot of parents look at, a lot of individuals don't want to have children until they are married or until, they're employed as well. So we look at those type of factors as well. Also, in the psychosocial factors, they are motivational factors, adult development tasks, values and functions of children, and meanings of the parenthood role. So, when you look at in the chapter, in the first section of the introduction of Do I Want to Be a Parent, children are basically considered more of a liability than an asset. So, individuals do look at that before they have children. And many people, as I stated before, they don't want to have kids until they're actually financially stable or have reached or achieved, good education, life goals. Economic factors that we can actually say that may contribute to having children is the middle class is basically considered the class that is one fourth of the economic factors is devoted to raising a child from birth until 18 years old. And within the family expenses, when a family looks at all of their family expenses that they have, raising a child is ranked three among those economic factors. Also, the loss of income is also an economic um, issue as well. Now, as far as the employment status of parents, fathers are known to be the individuals who stay at home and are responsible for the child rearing responsibilities. Just because I'm in the workforce, a female is, able to get a job quicker than the male. So most of the time, the males are the individuals who will stay at home and keep the children. Now, within the structural factors, as I stated before, the marital and the employment status of parents does affect the structural patterns. And single mothers who raise children, they are known to have lower incomes than married individuals, and that influences basically the quality of life on having children. Also, within the structural factors, childcare is a priority. Either you'll have to pay for childcare, which is normally the way it goes, or there may be grandparents or individuals around that individuals may have to take care of the kids. But normally, because if they don't live in the same state or something, that's another factor, paying for childcare, which can be another expense onto any type of any family expenses wise. Okay. Also, and it is said within the structural factor as well that young women completing college and young women basically decide to complete college and enter the workforce first instead of having children. Then they look at having children after they've accomplished their goals. It also is known as married people are pressured more to become parents because they look at it as okay, they're married, they have everything together, they support each other. So most of the time, married people are pressured more to have children by grandparents and by other just friends and family as well. Now with the psychosocial factors, um, on page 112 of chapter 5, there is a figure there in that basically explains like the psychosocial factors that contributed to wanting to be a parent as well. The family origin or social class also has an effect on, having children or not, based on your religion and your social class. Also, it's known individuals who interact with children more, they look at it as wanting to have children when they interact with children more. That basically, makes them want to have children. Now, also within the psychosocial factors, fatalistic is basically the procreation of the primary reason for existence of religious doctrines. So that is something that people may strongly motivate to become parents as well. And that's by, the religious doctrines, as I stated. Also, it's another type of way that people pressure individuals in becoming the parents is called altruistic, and that is when, let's see, okay, yeah, um, altruistic is basically when it includes being unselfish and it's a desire to express affection and concern for children. So they look at it as being altruistic when individuals want to have children to express, that they're not selfish and to express their concerns and affections for children as well. Now it also is narcissistic as well, and that's also considered the goodness of a person, and it also reflects on the maturity of having children as well. And there's also another type which is called the instrumental type also, and that is considered when parents um, want to live through their children to reach those goals and objectives that they have also as well. Now, the next two are just basically a few lists of reasons of for becoming a parent. I listed a few reasons when I was going through the different types of parenting and reasons on becoming parenting, but these are just two. The next two are just basically lists full of reasons to become a parent. So a few are, as I stated before, this the basis in the belief of one's family origin, social class, or ethnic group, pleasurable expectations when interacting with a child, pleasure in child rearing, feelings of love, affection, and attitudes of generativity. Yeah, those are I explained the fatalistic and the altruistic and the narcissistic and the instrumental type as well. Um, so those are just, type of ways and reasons why parents would like to become individuals. Now the next type is adjusting. The next one will be adjusting to parenthood. On adjusting to parenthood, adjusting to parenthood. Now, pregnancy is said to be one of the most 12 most stressful life events that adults experience. Now, with expectant mothers as well, they go through a few changes within that affects like the body image, the physical and psychosocial well-being, the feelings of what it's like to be pregnant, the dealing with fears of the unknown and shifting mood states that may be related to fluctuations in hormone levels. Now, for the most part, first pregnancies that were desired are reacted to be favorable and with great anticipation by women and their partners. So basically, a lot of first time parents, they basically have a good experience. Most newly parents, they have a great experience with their children and becoming first parents because it's basically like just, learning new things and learning how to cope with different things, co-parenting like together and cohabitating together. Not basically looking at it as a role play, like with each like defining roles, but they're actually working together and figuring out these things. But now it also is known as well that studies compare their marriages with and without children find their marital satisfaction is greatest or is enhanced among couples who do not have children. So a lot of people think, having children um, increases their marital satisfaction, but basically it's just at that basically point when they have children, basically it just determines their relationship and how strong of a relationship they have to just keep it together because that is basically, as stated here, one of the most stressful life events. So that's basically just a rocky, time period to just figure out things, take their time, figure out, life and just make the best of it. Okay, now with continuing on to the adjusting to parenthood, there are also emotional reactions that are less than positive. Feelings of ambivalence about the possibility of becoming a parent, marital difficulties, the lack of suitable social network to provide emotional support during the pregnancy, and the lack of desire for the pregnancy. Perhaps one of the benefits of the 9 months of pregnancy is that it allows them for mental preparations to take place before one actually has to perform as a parent. So, as I was explaining it before about, how children basically they don't increase the satisfaction of marriages, but also it's just basically a kind of a complex situation there for parents adjusting. As stated here, a lot of parents, they look into like social networks and things to and social networks, internet, any type of emotional support, um, counseling, just all kind of things. All of those services basically help with new parents who are first having children because it basically, just prepares them onto what they'll be looking forward to in life or when having a child. Okay, the next section will be parenthood and committed relationships. So committed relationships basically they resolve conflict development patterns and achieve levels of healthy functioning. New babies are actually considered positive and challenging reactions to committed relationship. And as I stated before about the children, decreasing marital satisfaction within the time period. Now within the time period of when they have children, infants, basically, the marital satisfaction is on a decrease, but it's a decrease until middle childhood. Then it increases back again when children reach adolescence and adulthood stages. Now, also, there's another thing within the section that's called the role strain. And what role strain basically is, it's when um, individuals are pulled in all type of different directions. They attempt to complete several social roles, and also it is suggested a strong committed relationship prior to having children because um, it basically is a time period when it basically affects the marital satisfaction of the relationship. Now, is also important for couples to develop a strong, committed relationship prior to having children, and the marital relationship typically receives less attention while the partners are actively involved in child rearing as well. Okay, the next section discussed will be the alternative avenues to parenthood, assistive reproductive technology, which is considered art. It's abbreviated as art. Um, about 12 to 15% of couples require medical intervention to fulfill parenthood. Now, basically, art became available as early as the 1980s to single women and individuals who also have need assistance seeking medical attention to have children. Now, basically, um, having the assisted reproductive technology, a lot of individuals need it. As far as we said, like single women seeking medical attention. Also, the challenges come with the age of the mother and the treatment and the cause of infertility. So those are, just type of ways that they may need assisted reproductive technology. Now, there are challenges with art as well, and some of the challenges are such as the ethical and psychosocial issues with it. Basically, sometimes a lot of individuals now, which is kind of popular, they will have surrogate mothers or with surrogate parents, which are involved. Now, when surrogate parents are involved, they everything is basically paid for by the parent. The payment for the donor eggs, for carrying the pregnancy terms, all of that is paid for within that time period. Also, within that time, there are just different types with it. Now, also with the surrogate mothers, it's basically like with the surrogate mothers, um, it's basically when the surrogate mother is basically carrying the ovum and the fertility that was from the mother who can't basically carry the child. So the surrogate mother is basically paid a fee plus the cost of the prenatal care and delivery. So they're basically, everything is taken care of with the surrogate mother. So when the baby is basically born within a surrogate mother, it's not considered adoption because the father is basically the legal parent. So within that portion, they don't have to worry about any type of issues or anything with it. Now, also with the gestational mother, that is the mother. I'm sorry, this is the mother that basically it refers to when they carry the fertilized ovum to the full term, and they basically host a pregnancy. They carry the child within those full stages and everything because the mother cannot carry the child, but genetically everything is linked to the mother, not the gestational mother, but everything is genetically linked to the embryo from the biological mother, not the gestational mother that's basically carrying the child. Okay, and listed within the assisted reproductive technology, these are just a few of the type of assisted reproductive technologies that go on today: fertility drugs, artificial insemination by donor, IVF, IVF combined with, I think it's called intracytoplasmic sperm injection, ovum transfer, and the gestational surrogacy, the surrogate mother, as I also just explained as well. So these are just the types of assisted reproductive technology that they also do now as well. for individuals to have children. Okay, and the next section is adoption. Adoption is basically considered legal, social, and psychological processes of including a younger person into a family system and coming to accept this person as one's relative. Now, within adoption, there can be a few challenges as well um, associated with adopting. Contacting an agency that will facilitate the adoption of eligible children, screening of the potential parents, undergoing a home study to determine and support eligibility of the parents, searching for an appropriate child for adoption, and seeking a court decree declaring adoption to be legal and final as well. So those are a few um, challenges that may go on within the adoption. Now, also on page 119, there is a few things listed on the basic reasons of why some people make decisions to adopt children. Also, some of it could be like domestic reasons, single mothers who are losing the custody of their child, adopting children, if they're not able to conceive any children of their own. So there's like a few, different list of things on page 119. And also, there's a link that's also provided within the PowerPoint that basically tells you on how the adoption in Mississippi, works as well if anyone is ever interested in it or just to read that information on it as well in that section. Now, for the types of adoption, there are a few types of adoption. And basically, the types of adoptions basically are different, which within the presence of the laws that govern the age and developmental status of an available child and the potential compatibility between the parents and an available child to play a role in the type of adoption that a couple might pursue. So they're kind of different within each stage. Now, within public adoption, that basically takes place through an agency licensed for placing children for adoption. Most of the time, a public adoption is through web searches or referrals from lawyers, social workers, or medical sources. And within this type of adoption, counseling and education for potential parents is also available to just let them know what they'll be expecting. Now there can be a waiting period up to about 5 years for the public adoption, and the potential parents can also expect to pay a kind of high application fee and other legal fees, that may be involved as far as medical costs as well, traveling costs, or anything other charges that may be um, accompanied from doing the public adoption as well. Private adoption, it does not involve an agency, a third party. Often an attorney arranges the adoption between the potential parents and the birth mother. So within the private adoption, these are considered to be more significantly expensive than the public adoption, and also it's basically considered a risky adoption as well because at any time the birth mother has greater latitude in changing her mind, and even she can even change her mind after everything has been signed over and the parents have paid for the medical expenses and signed the contract. She can still change her mind. So the private adoption is considered a very kind of risky type of adoption. Next is the closed, open, or semi adoption. And basically, the closed adoption identities of both the biological and adopted parents remain confidential to each other. The adoption is biological and adopted parents have access to each other's records and can contact each other. And the semi-open is when it permits the access to information for all parties, but no contact can take place. Now, with the transracial adoption is basically the potential adjustment challenges, and there also are several issues that have been identified as critical adjustment challenges with the transracial adoption. There are a few that are listed on page 120. A few of them are when the adopted parents see themselves as rescuing a child from a potentially disadvantaged life, they tend to cast the child into the role of the victim and expect the child to be grateful for their generosity. Um, some of it is when extended family members may have to adjust to a child and their different racial backgrounds. The insidious influence of racial stereotyping that may affect that child. They may stereotype that child to be just because, for example, here it says, just because they're an Asian student that may excel academically, and if they're African American, they're considered to, be a child who is very athletic. Also, the high visibility of interracial adoptions by celebrities have also been aided to increase tolerance, and the frequency of international adoptions has also enhanced tolerance and acceptance as well. Now, within the international adoption, it's when some of the adoption has been noted for high risk and many difficulties. The majority of these adoptions occur when children were infants at the time of adoption. Now, also within the international adoption, there was the Child Citizenship Act of 2001 that confers to U.S. citizenship to foreign born children when the adoption is finalized. So that was the act that was created in 2001. Also, within the international adoptions, um, you also have to pay attention to the health risk of adopting these type of children and the medical needs they have. Parents also they have to pay the fees, with like such as all agency dues with the expenses, the medical checkups, the documents, the visa for the child, the traveling expenses. They'll pay for all of that. Now, it also is a difficulty when adopting internationally with gathering the child's documentation and their just the history of their information from the government. There's a real big risk there as well. Now, also within the international adoption, there also um, is considered a reactive attachment disorder, which is basically contributing factors that are early and severe to neglect and parent deprivation that are considered within this phase. And there are a few that are listed on page 122, where adoptive parents may get insufficient or inaccurate information on the child as far as the medical history, the history of their like that child's family and stuff. They may get, incorrect information from it. Um, Children should be, known if they have any special needs. Those parents should know as well with that. So there are a few that are listed in detail more on page 122 that you can basically look at in regards to the type of things that go on and that may happen when you do, adopt children internationally. Now the next one that we'll be discussing is foster care. And foster care is considered when children are cared for by trained and licensed adults who provide substitute parental care. They could also be provided by a child's relatives, which is basically considered kinship care, is when relatives basically, take in those children and they take care of those children when their parents can't. Foster parents are compensated for the services that they provide, and they're also, the foster parents who will basically care for the children as well. They'll be trained by licensed adults, also just to make sure they are familiar with everything and how it is ran to, take care of foster children and be a parent. Parental abuse and neglect are the most common reasons for placement into foster care. So yeah, within any children that are placed in foster care, um, abuse and neglect are, some of the most common types of reasons children are placed into foster care and outside of their homes. Now the criteria for becoming a parent, it basically includes being a minimum age of 21, being of good character, motivated, and providing positive references, have no criminal record, having a regular source of income, no history of child abuse, successfully completed the foster care training, and certified through First Aid and Red Cross. And also, they have to pass a home inspection as well. Now, also, there are a few facts on page 122 that go into just some demographic data on the foster care in the United States. It is also known as the largest number of children who are in foster care were infants and adolescents that are up to 17 years old. About 70% of children in foster care were African American or Caucasian. The length of the stay of majority of the children are at least 2 years to 7 months. A majority of the children that are in foster care are boys. Most of the children that are in foster care, they do wish to be reunited with their actual parents. They, would love to reconnect with their parents. And the children who are waiting to be adopted spent about 3 years in the system. The majority of these children were between ages 12 and 16. And also, um, the parents of approximately 17% of children in foster care, they basically, had their parental rights terminated. So those are just a few of the just demographic data and facts from the United States foster care. Now, the next thing would be the unique challenges faced by foster parents. A lot of foster parents, they may experience a lot of difficulties, when they do adopt children. A few are supervising a child who may be abused, rejected, or unloved and could display trust and attachment issues. There are a lot of children who just can't adjust to, being around others. And more like infants and babies, they'll adjust more to like an older child. They may not, adjust and transition over well to the new foster parents. And that may, lead to some difficulties within those stages. Being paid little for demanding work, dealing with agencies, social workers, and even angry, defensive biological parents, having little community support or respect for being a foster parent, experiencing a high rate of burnout, and requires a unique foster parent who deals with challenges constructively. So the foster parenting process is really a hard process from dealing with, difficulties that may come from the child getting adjusted, from their biological parent, maybe, trying to get back in contact with them and, want the attention of their child, not receiving enough benefits, to support the child, and just being respected by anyone else, just not getting the respect that they should just because they're not the biological parent. Those are a lot of issues there that may occur also. Now, within the facilitating the transition to parenthood, there are a lot of different things that are very helpful for parents who are transitioning into becoming parents. They have parenting classes and support groups. A fun parenting class that I saw when I was reading the chapter was they have a parenting class for new dads, and the new dads can basically it's offered on the weekend, and the new dads can basically bring in their children and basically just work throughout things and work throughout the process of just learning new things also as well. They have different type of parenting classes that also help newly parents with postpartum depression. Also, I found that as a unique thing and a great thing as well. We have a lot of women who deal with postpartum, and having those parenting classes and classes that help with that, that'll basically help those individuals. Now, as described here, the support groups that are listed, both genders are welcome. The support groups are created to gain reassurance that others share similar fears, misgivings, and stress regarding becoming parents. The safe environment to discuss expectations about parenthood, just networking and creating another social group with other parents that are foster parents. And it also can help couples strengthen their relationships. Now that is just a a unique thing because a lot of um like newly parents when children are available in when children are available in marriages now, like the studies say throughout the book repeatedly, it basically decreases the marital satisfaction there. So, parents just need anything that's kind of anything and any tips to basically increase the parental, marital satisfaction there to just keep their marriage alive. Also, there are parenting classes that basically, as I stated before, they just help new parents learn about resources, equipment, and methods for child care, and they both include both the mother and the father. So this chapter was just a very fun chapter to read and a very interesting chapter to read just about foster parents or, fostering if you are interested in ever becoming a foster parent or just becoming, new parents. It gave a lot of interesting information, just to soak in and just to remember. And there are a lot of different links without the PowerPoint that'll, give you additional information to those readings as well. So this basically wraps up chapter 5.